We're back at the Department of Interior and the office of a friend of ours, the Secretary of Interior, Doug Burgum. Welcome. How are you?
Great to be here with you, Scott. Thank you, and honored to serve in this incredible position.
I'm going to do my best to not notice the bear behind you, and because it's a little challenging doing an interview with a bear looking to lurch there. I believe that was named after our friend Brett Bear.
It was. Yeah. It was. You can focus on the bison on the wall.
There you go. Yeah, or the elk you toasted up here. Yeah, we got a lot of places. I love it. Yeah. Not only has President Trump made America grand again, Doug Burgum has made Interior great again, because they actually have some of these wonderful, just wildlife, and it's so fun to be here. Since we saw you last, the one big beautiful bill passed. And we've done talk radio town halls on it for 3 hours in the evening and taken questions. We've done countless shows, and I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of what's in it and what people in our listening area in the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana know about it, or anybody around the country. What do you want them to know about it?
Well, I think one thing President Trump ran on, of course, was that he was going to make sure that the U.S. had energy dominance, and what he meant by that was that he was going to make sure that we had energy here at home for the prosperity of our economy, the energy to win the AI arms race with China, but also be able to sell energy to our friends and allies so they don't have to buy it from our adversaries like Russia, Iran, or other countries. And he's really delivered on that, started out delivering that on day one with executive orders, but the big beautiful bill really made many of those changes that he put into executive orders durable by actually passing them as laws into Congress. So and particularly for states around the country that are pro-energy, we're seeing dropping energy prices across the country, but it varies by what state you're living in. Some of the states continue to have an anti-energy approach, and when they're doing that, unfortunately for their citizens, as we head into Labor Day weekend, some of those states, California, Oregon, Hawaii, have got some of the highest gas prices in the country.
Minnesota might be.
Yeah.
Not far.
And then you've got same in the Northeast, and people in the Northeast paying 3 times their electricity what they do back in North Dakota. So again, it's one of the beautiful things about our country is the 50-state model, where each state can be a platform of innovation. And I think what we're seeing is states like North Dakota, with the policies that have been in place there and are being executed on there, means savings for every citizen, because you got lower prices and you're going to have more economic development going forward because of the importance of electricity to the next generation of our economy.
Remind us on the one big beautiful bill connecting to the executive orders. I know very early on the president was really spun up about energy infrastructure and about permitting, and I think you told a story at an event I was at where you said it doesn't say could you potentially change the time frame, it says you shall, and by the way, get back here in 2 weeks and tell me how much progress you've made. So is that been codified in the bill? Where's permitting reform at?
Well, a lot of it's in there. We've always got more to do, of course, but as you say, those executive orders, it said shall, not may. The Secretary of the Interior, the Secretary of Energy, the Administrator of the EPA shall, within 15 days, 30 days, make these changes. And of course, each of the cabinet members working closely with the White House policy team recommending here's some more EOs that President Trump could put in to help us accelerate change. And wow, have we've seen change, I think, in terms of just permitting for drilling on federal lands is up over 50% in the first 6 months that President Trump's been in business. And of course, in our country, that takes the private sector to say, hey, we think there's an opportunity here. They've got to mobilize, the people and the equipment to be able to help tap into these great natural resources that we have as a country. But the amount of activity that we're seeing is the reason why energy prices are down.
What is your goal? How will you judge success related to the permitting reform? I mean, I've heard some staggering numbers of like, really, you're going to go from 120 days down to 6, or I mean, what's realistic?
Well, what's been really fun here at the Department of Interior, when we've got to do projects that are on federal land, and we get put under some of the same rules that were required historically, like an environmental assessment, an EA, or an EIS, environmental impact statement. These are things that on a good day, the federal government would take a year to do an EA and 2 years to do an EIS. We know that from our own experience in North Dakota that this can take years longer than that when people are trying to weaponize the current regulatory regime to try to stop energy projects. We know that can take years and years, but one of the things we challenge ourselves here at Interior, could we do an EA, which normally takes a year, in 14 days? Could we do an EIS in 28 days? And I think even the White House,
Which can take years, the EIF.
yeah, years. And I mean, I think even the White House was like, oh, wow, man, that's pretty aggressive. What do you think? But it turns out that on a lot of these processes, if I was going to start a process, work on it for a short while, I email it to you. I give you 30 days to do the next step. On day 29, you put some time into it. You email it to the next person. You go down the chain. A year can go by pretty quickly, but it doesn't mean there's been a year's worth of work. So we put a strike team said, how fast can we do an EA that's of the same or higher quality than what's been done in the past? And we, under President Trump's emergency orders, we've now done 8 of these, and we've done EAs in 12 days, and we've done EISs in 24 days.
I think if you ran your business like the old model of you got 30 days to respond and then I'll give you 30 days to get my respond back, and you did that at Great Plains Software, you'd still be downtown with a couple of computers and a clerk at Great Plains Software. You can't run any enterprise like that. Wow, amazing. Now, all of this is important because of the AI arms race, and you talk a lot about this. I mean, I always try to boil it down to people in North Dakota who say, this data center, I don't know if I want it in my backyard, and my power might go up, or I might hear noise or whatever. Do you want to win against China? Because this is really, we win or they win. That's what's at stake here. And we're doing okay in a lot of the technology side, but we've got a lot of ground to make up on energy, right?
Yes, we do. And one of the things that I think on this whole topic of artificial intelligence, we should just understand that we are in an arms race with China, because this is going to affect every job, every company, every industry. China understands that. And when it comes to military applications, or when it comes to cyber wars, it wouldn't even have to be a kinetic, we're actually getting out and fighting war, but their ability, when they could manage and influence cyber attacks through AI, we have to be in a position to be able to defend ourselves, through that. But they're just on the private sector side, there's so much good that can come from AI, whether it's literally curing cancer, accelerating innovation across agriculture, across manufacturing, across education, the law. I mean, there's so many ways that we can apply that capability in this country that it's just astounding. And I think everybody should take a few minutes every day and say, hey, what are we really talking about here with this advanced intelligence, and what can it do? But I would say in terms of how that affects power generation, what it means for a state like North Dakota, my goodness, what an opportunity. We know we've had these natural resources in our state, whether it's coal, but we would turn the coal into electricity. We'd have to export that through a transmission line. If we had all this oil and gas, we produce it in North Dakota, often add no value to it, put it in a pipeline, and we'd, ship it to another state, and they'd ship back propane, or we'd ship it to another state, they'd ship back fertilizer, ship it to another state, it never comes back because it's being, refined in a place, down like on the Gulf Coast. But now there's an opportunity for us to take those resources, turn them into electricity, and then take that electricity and turn it into an intelligence. I mean, I think we should all stop calling them data centers. I mean, if a data center exists for processing a healthcare claim, that's good for the insurance company and for the that's the payer, for the provider, the healthcare provider, and then also for the patient. That's a transaction between the three of them. If it's a data center that's managing an online shopping order, you've got the seller, you got the buyer, maybe a third party. But when you talk about artificial intelligence, take a kilowatt of electricity and turn it into artificial intelligence. That's a general purpose technology that lifts up everybody. That could be used for ag research. It could be used for advancing education, healthcare, and having those capabilities in your state is going to attract advanced manufacturing. It's going to attract jobs and other kinds of capability, not necessarily in where you're actually converting it itself, but all the other ancillary things. And when we produce that in North Dakota, we don't have to export it. We don't have to spend 4 years fighting pipeline battles, because what we'll be exporting out of North Dakota is going to go on a fiber optic cable. I mean, no one's figured out yet how to hold a protest for high-speed fiber optic cable, and so we can take our resources in states like Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota that have got really pro-business regulatory environments, and take our natural resources, convert it to electricity, convert electricity into intelligence, general purpose intelligence, and then ship that out to customers around the world. So it is a breakthrough for rural states with high energy. And then the other thing, we've always said, it's when it's cold, that's a disadvantage. Turns out the cold weather helps you with the cooling on these intelligence factories, and that's really what they are. They're not a data center. We're manufacturing intelligence. Wouldn't you want to be manufacturing intelligence in your state? And then where they're going to choose to go, and there's hundreds of billions of dollars of capital that's going to go towards these intelligence factories. They're not going to states that have electricity rates that are 3 times higher than North Dakota. I've spoken to even the leaders of some of these states, and I've said, hey, when we're trying to help them get more pro-energy policy, and said, you understand that of the $364 billion committed right now towards building these intelligence factories, 0 of those dollars right now are headed towards either California or New York.
I feel like you talk about all those assets in North Dakota and obviously rural America. The farm economy right now is in tough shape, but we have some innovative ways to link all those power needs you talked about and agriculture in so many ways. Obviously the CO2 off of coal stacks or ethanol plants. We could go down the list, SAF and what's potential. They're opening up new markets. All my farmer friends, and they're probably your farmer friends too, say we are really at a disadvantage because we need transformation of removing the barriers to market that Brazil and other countries don't have. How important is that to what you're talking about?
Well, I think it's very important, and I know that Brooke Rollins, who's leading the Department of Agriculture, is really getting down and understanding how these markets are impacted, and we've got some big advantages here. You mentioned sustainable aviation fuel. The Midwest could be we could be the Saudi Arabia, if you will, of sustainable aviation fuel, because long haul aviation flights are not ever going to be battery operated. I mean, you can have a battery operated drone, but you're not going to have a flight that's going from San Francisco to Tokyo with batteries, because
there are not charging stations in the air. Yeah,
there are not charging stations, and of course the planes are built to be have an ability to sustain themselves when they land, but when you take off on an aircraft, even on a relatively short flight, often half the weight of the plane is the fuel. And so then if the fuel's gone by the time you land, then the landing gear can be lighter, the plane structure can be lighter. So the physics of it, when you take off with a plane full of batteries, you can use all the electrons. When you land, it weighs the same. So this is a big advantage for farmers and as new markets open up.
I understand you have an appointment with the president, so we're going to go rapid fire through a couple of issues here. I don't want to keep him waiting. You're doing some amazing things, making this city safer again. And I understand you're going to do a ride along tonight. You've obviously been shoulder to shoulder with the president on this. Quick update on how it's working and what the ultimate goal is here.
Well, it's what we started out with was just amazing. And like a lot of cities that began back 4 years ago, beginning of COVID, the summer of all the riots and disturbances, where everybody in these big blue metro cities in the U.S. thought that the path forward was to defund the police. This is led to a situation here in Washington, D.C., where we'd become the most dangerous capital of any capital in the world compared to even third world countries. And the homicide rate in a city like this is like no one felt safe going out in the city, even though this is supposed to be the shining example of the greatest, strongest country in the world. So we have with President Trump put out an executive order on March 27th of this year about making D.C. safe and beautiful, because what he believes in is what he campaigned on, but also as we look ahead to next year, to our 250th anniversary, he wants to appropriately, part of his pride in America is to have our capital be the best, the safest capital, the most beautiful capital in the world. And so the United States Park Police is one of the great agencies that's inside of Interior, and they've got responsibility for protecting the National Mall, the national monuments, Statue of Liberty, out in the Golden Gate Recreation area on the West Coast. So in those cities, we've got it's the oldest uniformed police force in America, formed by George Washington, 1791, the U.S. Park Police, and not to be confused with the other 4 great law enforcement agencies that we have inside of Interior, because we've got BLM Rangers, we got National Park Service Rangers, we've got people working for the BIA as part of BIA law enforcement, and of course we've got U.S. Fish and Wildlife Game Wardens. So we've got great law enforcement folks working across our country and across all of our public lands. But in the city, the U.S. Park Police are kind of the top of the hill. They've got the ability to enforce the laws of the federal government and the laws of the Metro of D.C. All these little pocket parks, the circles that you drive around that have statues in the middle in D.C., DuPont Circle, Logan Circle, all those, in front of, when you come off of Union Station.
Lafayette Park. Yeah.
All of those parks are also part of the federal system. And the folks in the U.S. Park Police they were so tied up in the bureaucracy of the prior administration, and now we've cut them loose. We've allowed law enforcement to do law enforcement. We instituted last week the ability for them to do pursuits again, and the first night, I talked to officers after I got into this position, and they said, hey, in a single shift we might pull over a half a dozen people that flee. It's pretty depressing if you're in law enforcement and then you're told that you've got someone, they've got a stolen car, you know it from the license plate, and then you can't chase them. So then the first night last week, when under President Trump's surge, when our guys had the ability to pursue again, then they said the first group they pulled over, they said, hey, you're not supposed to chase us. Like the bad guys were like, oh,
they know how to break the rules.
Yeah, you the law enforcement are breaking the rules because you're not supposed to chase us. Like, no, actually.
Well, and I know this whole endeavor makes most of the regime media and the president's very loud critics crazy. Only people could think, only Donald Trump could get people to think making a city safer is a bad thing. I don't know, he just lives in their head rent-free. It's unbelievable, but keep at it, and just so you know, it's super popular with folks back home. They're just ecstatic, and hopefully it'll go to other cities. You mentioned America 250.
I should just say but Scott, carjackings in the first 5 days, carjackings down 86%, muggings down 46%. The city went 9 days without a homicide. These are things that people thought was impossible 2 weeks ago, and now it's possible. Morale is up, crime is down, and restaurant reservations is up. People are literally in a span of a week now going back out into the city again, feeling that they're safe in the city. And of course, President Trump doesn't want to just do it here. He believes that in every major American city ought to be safe and beautiful, and he's basically showing every blue metro and every mayor and every governor in this country what leadership can look like if you decide to actually enforce the laws that we have. And about time, because now we're also seeing interest in careers in law enforcement going up, just like we've seen a surge in interest in people in the military. We've seen a surge in people of interest in wanting to go back to work for the Border Patrol. Now we're going to have folks saying, hey, maybe the law enforcement is a really the proud, righteous profession that it always has been.
America 250 events will include the opening of Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library. You're headed for a cabinet meeting. Could you flip through the calendar and see if maybe President Trump's schedule includes a stop in beautiful Medora, North Dakota?
There's no one that has more demand on his time in the world right now than President Trump, and man, does he make good use of it, working literally 18 to 20 hours a day, getting world leaders to come and see him, moving through stopping wars, changing the economy, helping, lower taxes, lower regulation. The prosperity for this country is really incredible because of the work and the leadership that he's providing. Next year, USA 250 event, events. I mean, he's going to get invited to 1,000 things in the 2 weeks before the 4th of July. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to be, he'll be busier than he ever was on any campaign. I mean, he could be doing 2, 3, 4, 5 events a day across this country trying to celebrate. But I would say that we're optimistic that because the opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library is an official USA 250 event, that we're optimistic that we may see the president in North Dakota on one of his many stops next year as we're celebrating this country.
It'd be an amazing day for a great man and his legacy, Teddy Roosevelt, for sure. Last thing I'll say, you're headed for the cabinet meeting, and I hope, I imagine you'll get a chance to recognize as we head into Labor Day weekend just how hard this administration is working. Every cabinet official, top-down, whole-of-government approach for the American worker. It's amazing, so thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's going to be the focus today is, Labor Day, bringing back the focus on the American worker is part of the focus of today's cabinet meeting. And American workers have a lot to celebrate when you think about, lower taxes, no tax on tips, people who've worked their whole life, no tax on Social Security. What President Trump has done for the people that have built this country, for our military, our law enforcement, is nothing short of remarkable. And I think we're all getting a chance to see what high energy, common sense leadership looks like.
Good to see you as always.
Good to see you, Scott.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.